Hey, what's up, everybody? Pat here. Great for recovering alcoholic and addict, just like every day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe. Leave the video a like. Drop me a comment, and by all means, share it with someone who gets something out of it. Other than that, today, guys, we're going to do the reading, the Just for Today NA meditation reading, which is titled "Being Ourselves." Being ourselves. Our real value is in being ourselves. Over and over, we have tried to live up to the expectations of those around us. We may have been raised believing that we were okay if we earned good grades in school, cleaned our rooms, or dressed in a certain way. Always wanting to belong or to be loved, many of us spent a lot of time trying to fit in, yet felt we never quite seemed to measure up. Now in recovery, we are accepted as we are. Our real value to others is in being ourselves. As we work our recovery program, we learn to accept ourselves just as we are. Once this happens, we gain the freedom to become who we want to be. We each have many good qualities we can share with others. Our experiences, honestly shared, help others find the level of identification they need to begin their recovery. We discover that we all have special gifts to offer those around us, and the affirmation is, just for today, my experience in recovery is the greatest gift I can share with another addict. I will share myself honestly with others. Guys, there's so much truth to these readings. Part of the biggest problem one of the reasons that kept me in addiction, one of my biggest problems was I never took the time to just honestly figure out who I was and what mattered to me. I was always trying to live up to others' expectations of me. And as a child, I didn't do that very well, and that put me off the side. And my parents died my father died when I was very young. My mother abandoned us. So I started acting out. I had a lot of anger issues. I had a lot of just pent up animosity, and then I had a lot of insecurities. But by being wild and crazy, I made people. People thought I don't know what people thought, but it kept people from looking deeply into the problems I had, the things that I was trying to hide, my fears, my insecurities, my lack of knowledge what to do. I wanted everybody to think I knew what I was doing. I started selling drugs when I was really young, partly to pay the bills at the house, and with that became that reputation. And then when I would drink, or even just I would go to parties and I would just do crazy. I was like a stunt man, right? Ridiculous. But suddenly I started developing this larger than life persona, and it literally took on a life of its own. So then, guys, this was like when I was 12, 13 years old. I grew up in a very small town, so my name got to be known, and people just, stories get retold and they get added to, and they get embellished. And so suddenly I found that everybody expected craziness out of me, so I felt like I had to live up to that. And that just put me further and further, constantly challenging myself to do something stupider or crazier or bigger or badder. And with that became all the trouble: getting suspended from school, getting expelled, getting into fights, started getting arrested by middle school. I think my first driving on suspension charge, or driving without a license charge, wasn't even suspended. I never had one. I think I was 13 or I was 14 years old first time I got caught driving. Like it all started so little, so young, that I started trying to live up to that, and then trying to people looked at it a certain way, so I thought that's what they expected, so I tried to be that person. And I was a strong, good fighter, but I wasn't a mean kid. Yet I was constantly being challenged. So here I am having to be this tough guy. And then as I grew older, I got in with the bikers. And guys, that created this imbalance in me, so that I didn't know who I was. Because here I am internally, just I want to be a nice person. I want to be peaceful, and I wanted to just try to get ahead and try to provide and try and build a life. And yet I had this whole other side of craziness, and when you try and balance those out and it doesn't work, I got confused, because again, I'd never taken the time to just figure out that I was good enough just being myself, and I never felt that way. So I was added drugs to it, or I wanted to have something to offer people, or people just expected this from me, and it just, guys, it snowballed and it got away from me. And next thing you know, I'm living this whole life that just wasn't who I was. It's something I talk about quite often here. One of the biggest gifts I've gotten in this recovery program, this sobriety this time around, was finally getting the desire to just let everything go, start from square one, and figure out who I am, because I know there's good inside me, and yet I'm out here part of the reason I had to always numb myself is I was living a life that wasn't who I was, and then trying to balance that out in my head, and just all this confusion and aggravation and just resentments and animosity that comes with that I was never happy. No matter how hard I tried, I could never get ahead because I was like trying to fit a square hole in a round, a square peg in a round hole, or a square, square peg in a round hole. When I had trouble with that one. Guys, when the easiest thing in the world, now that I've gotten into recovery, was just taking the time to finally be honest. Like, that was something that I understood. Like, it was a glaring, and again, this is all God fed because, guys, this all started for me with praying. So because of that, all of a sudden, for once in my life, I was asking the right questions because I was actually praying and then listening for answers. So I remember the day I was going to rehab, I'm getting a ride down there, and literally I got tears in my eyes, and I'm being honest. I'm like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. I don't know what matters to me. I don't even know what's real in life at this point. And that was really overwhelming and really terrifying at that point in time. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to turn it over. And that was the beauty of it, guys. I found the power of surrender because I literally didn't have an answer for anything at that point. So I let everything go, and I just started praying and meditating and learning and paying attention and learning about the disease of addiction, looking at my behaviors, looking at the redundancy of the things that I've been doing over and over again, yet expecting different results, realizing that that's literally the definition of insanity, and realizing that everything I had was a house of cards, it was a facade, it was just wrong. So I understood that if I ever want to change it, I got to let it go. I got to figure out who I really am. And that's what I focused on all throughout this recovery, is just brutal honesty, no matter how uncomfortable and how difficult, and no matter what it may cost. And guys, like, I thought that was this terrible thing to fear. I thought it was going to be like, all this super hard work. All I had to do was stop. Just stop everything. Let everything go. Just say, fuck it, burn it to the ground. Start my day in prayer, meditate throughout the day. I was in rehab for a month. I stayed there as long as they wanted to me. I took every suggestion. I tried everything once. I got into an IOP, intensive outpatient programming treatment. I got medically assisted treatment. I got a primary care physician. I got a dentist. I got a dermatologist. I got a therapist. I got a recovery coach, a recovery advisor, and I just started being honest with all these people. And it was amazing to me early on because I'm just like, for once in my life, answering questions when I do these intake surveys, and I'm just being completely honest. And I had people that were tearing up and giving me their personal cell phone numbers because, like, hey, the program's not ready yet. Here's my number if you need anything. Like, they were shocked at the amount of stuff that I've been through, and when I started being honest with everything I had. And all of a sudden, I'm being told I'm getting diagnosed with severe PTSD, abandonment, this, that, the other. And I'm like, I never considered any of that because I never stopped and honestly tried to figure out who I was and what I've been through and what my life really looked like. I literally had been numbing myself with medications for decades upon decades upon decades, guys, like 30, 40 years. But because I've turned it all over, I found the power of surrender. I just pray and meditate and then take the action that I know is the right action. And I'm not always 100% convinced what it's going to lead to, but before I do anything, I legitimately, instead of reacting to anything, I stop and I digest and I weigh the pros and cons, and I try to figure out what's going to happen if I do this, and then I take the most appropriate action, whatever's going to have the biggest impact on either my sobriety, setting myself up for the future, or helping somebody else along the way. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, I'm going from somebody that didn't know who I was and trying to hate. Guys, I hated myself. I literally, one of the things that kept coming up over and over in rehab is saying, like, what do you want to get out of this rehab? Well, I want to find out why I hate myself so much that I'm constantly trying to kill myself. Like, I'm just being honest, and these are the words that come out of my mouth. Guys, because I turned it over to God, my higher power, whom I choose to call God, and I just started, like, trying to learn, trying to absorb as much positive information, learning as much about the disease, listening to others. That's one of the biggest things, guys, when you listen to others share in recovery. And it's why it's so important that we're just being willing to be honest in recovery. I found suddenly I didn't feel so isolated. I heard so many people. It was shocking, like, to hear everybody else say the same things that were about to come out of my mouth, yet this come out of somebody else's mouth. all these people felt so similar to what I do. So suddenly I don't feel like this complete outcast, this alien among us, right? I understood that other people have been through things similar, and they've had similar experiences. They've had similar traumas. They have similar insecurities. They had similar fears. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So maybe there's hope for me, and there's something very empowering in that, guys, and it's very freeing in that, and it's very engaging. So I dove down, and by the time I left that rehab, and again, keep in mind, I still come home that night and smoke crack because I found a rock of crack in my house, and I had to reset my sobriety date to the next day. But that was all part of the plan because, guys, I left that rehab knowing I couldn't do heroin, knowing I needed to get sober. But in the back of my head, I'm like, maybe I can do some crack once in a while, just to party on a Friday night. And that's insane, right? That's the disease of addiction trying to get me back, because if I continue to do anything like that, of course I'd be right back to heroin. I know this. I've done this over and over again. So I came home that night. I did everything right. I come home that night. I was trying to clean my apartment, trying to be right. But again, I was isolated. I had no intention of going to AA. And boom. So God made sure I found that rock of crack, and I smoked it, and my heart broke. It sank. I felt terrible, and I didn't like the feeling. I didn't like the high. And I was terrified. I'm like, oh my God, I literally just did that. I just threw away my sobriety that quickly. I'm right back to where I was. And I said, no. So I stopped, and I dropped to my knees, and I prayed. And I got the most immediate download to get out of the house. Just, guys, it was January 6th. It was like, down 13 degrees. So I walked across the street to Cumberland Farms. I quit smoking, but I grabbed a pack of cigarettes just to have a cigarette, have an excuse to get out of the house. And sure enough, there was this girl over there who had locked herself out of her car, and she didn't know where she was going, had nobody in town, didn't have a phone, this, that, the other. So I looked up the address, and I stopped and took my headphones out, and I asked her what was going on. I offered her a ride, and she was gonna, anyway, I ended up taking her to her car, breaking into her car for her, not by breaking anything, but like I'm using unlock tools. I made my own, and I got her car unlocked, and all those feelings of shame and guilt and remorse and feeling bad about myself were lifted. And it dawned on me, well, that's who I am. I'm somebody that likes to help people. So why am I out here acting like I'm a badass? Why am I trying to disassociate with people and scare people and try and put on this tough front? I've got a heart of gold. Everybody that gets to know me is shocked at how nice I am. I constantly hear how my record and what I look like on paper is not the person I am when you meet me. And it dawned on me, like, these are all things God made sure I figured out. That I needed to figure out who I really am and just once let go of all the fronts. Understanding that everybody that gets to know me loves the person I am. So there must be some good in that. So let me find out who I am. Let me pour into myself. Let me learn to love myself and then engage with the outside world. And that's what I've done, guys, and it's been absolutely amazing. Once I started doing these things, I started getting opportunities one after the other. Opportunity to take classes at Harvard. Opportunity to leave the job for a bunch of addicts in a bad place. And again, because I was paying attention, I spoke honestly in my AA meeting. The very first meeting, first or second meeting, I think it was the first one I went to. Hey, I just got out of rehab. I got signed up for my IOP. I got to go back to work on Monday, so I don't know if I can make this meeting during the day, but I'm terrified because I know it's a bad environment. And guys, as I spoke truths, I got answers. I got help. I got other people giving me good advice. Because once in my life, I spoke my concerns. I spoke honestly. There's so much power in that. I thought just knowing something was good enough. But no, you got to be willing to engage with it. And sometimes hearing it coming out of your own mouth solidifies it for us. I know at least it did for me. And that's what led me to start making changes. So I started taking leaps of faith by just speaking my honest truth, not knowing what I was going to say when I opened my mouth, but just letting it come out honestly instead of trying to decide what I needed to, what I need to hide, what I need to get across, where am I going after, and just let that go. For once in my life, I'm just going to be completely bluntly honest. I'm going to try to do the best I can, and I'm just going to let whatever happens, happens. And guys, suddenly everything started going right. I got ideas, I got people helping me, I got people giving me phone numbers and keeping in touch, asking me if I was okay, because I still had to go to work. And then I got to work, and everything at work felt so wrong that within a couple of days I gave my notice and I quit my job, and that led me to starting the business. That led me to getting the back help for rent, got me to, all sorts of government help. It got me to the pickup truck, like all these beautiful things that I have today that were the foundation that I put together so I could start putting this life together and building my business that's now thriving, all came from me stepping out of my comfort zone and being honest. If I didn't have the desire to be honest with myself and have the desire to learn why I failed all the time, I would never have found any of these answers. And most of them came when I was trying to reach out and just share and be a part of, not knowing what was going to happen. Now I'm considered a shining star, like I'm the example of what's possible if you do everything right. So I get to reach out and help other people. I get to chair my AA group for the next 3 months. That's like an honor to me. At any other point in life, I could never even see myself being that engaged with the group, but I love that group. I look forward to that. That's one of the 2 hours in the week that I like the most. I get the most knowledge and better ideas, and I get to share honestly with other people that are doing good things in their life. I get to feel like other people know where I'm coming from. And there's so much power in that, guys. There's so much freedom in that. Being ourselves is amazing, guys. And the ability to share my story openly and honestly with others gave me this channel. I love this. This is one of the things that I identify with. That makes me proud of the life that I'm living today. The fact that I commit to doing this every day. These are the things and again, none of this would have happened if I wasn't honest. I had the idea for this channel of rehab, knowing full well there's no way I'd follow through because that's just who I am and what I do. And as I get home and I get high that night with crap, I'm like, nope, I can't. These are the things I promised myself I'd do it. I'm going to try it. I'm not saying I have to stick to everything for the rest of my life, but I promised myself I would chase my recovery as much as I chase the drugs. I would take every suggestion and I would try every idea I have, and if it doesn't work, that's fine. If it's not for me and it's a good idea, I'll give it to somebody else. If it is for me, I'm going to try it and I'm going to work it to the best of my ability. And lo and behold, here we are 9 months later, and I finally have a life that I love. I finally can look in the mirror and be proud of myself, and I've made so many gains in every area of my life, guys. I'm physically healthier, I'm physically stronger, I'm physically smarter, my mind is clearer, I'm more effective at work. Like, my life is just so much better because I'm a better human being all around. I'm engaged with so many people. I've gotten to know so many people's stories and help so many other people, and I've gotten help from so many other people, all because I'm a part of something today, just by being myself. Imagine that. Guys, that's the lesson for today. That's the reading for the day. First of all, thank you all so much for being here. Always remember, God loves you. I love you. Thank you so much. We will see you in the next one.